Hi everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Show Me How It's Done. I have missed you guys so much. If you follow me weekly, you'll notice that I haven't posted in the last 2 weeks, and that is because my husband and I took a very well-needed vacation together, and we had a lovely time. So thank you so much for those of you who asked after our trip. And if you look on my Instagram at Lauren Scrapplot, there's lots of pictures, and there's also some photo dumps of some swap cards that I posted in lieu of my Show Me How It's Done videos. However, I missed you guys so much that this week we are not only going to do one project, but I have 3 for you to make up for the 2 weeks that I did miss, because our new celebration and mini catalog have started in the time that I was away, and I haven't had a chance to really delve into it with you. So if you're interested, I am a Canadian demonstrator. If you need these catalogs or you need anything, my website's at the bottom, or please reach out via the comments and I can certainly answer any questions you have or get catalogs to you if you don't have a demonstrator. If you're somewhere else in the world, please reach out as well. I can certainly give you the tools to hook you up with somebody, or may even know someone that I can personally recommend for you. So, a couple quick things that I want to point out before we get into our projects. Our celebration brochure is available now until the end of August. So for anyone not familiar with celebration, it's basically like Christmas, because anytime you spend money from our catalogs, you get something for free for every $60 before shipping and tax that you have ordered. So if you look through these catalog pages, I'm not going to go show you everything because I'm sure you've done it, but you can find all sorts of things from stamps to dies to paper, and you get those free with a $60 purchase. Just pointing out a couple things for you. Unfortunately, in the North American market, these cards and envelopes are now discontinued. Basically, with Stampinup for celebration items, once their supply is gone, it's gone. They don't replenish it. However, things from this catalog, of course, will certainly be available even if they're not right now. They're just waiting for another shipment to come in. But these guys, what they have is what they have. So these, unfortunately, you cannot get anymore. However, you can certainly message me if you're interested in knowing the paper. Actually, we're going to use it today, that you can make your own cards and envelopes that look like this with. Yeah, lots of stamps, paper, some specialties. If you're noticing this 120 icon, that means you need to spend 120 before you can earn this amazingly large stamp set or dies. Okay, so go ahead and browse through this at your leisure. Make sure you chat with the demonstrator or check your math before you put in an order, because the worst thing that I ever happened was somebody put in an order of like $58. And of course, to her, it was over $60 because she paid shipping and GST online. But I realized after I got the email saying, hey, someone placed an order. Her order was just $2 short, and she could have gotten something for free. She and I did work it out, and she did get something. So don't worry, but it's better to get it for free from Stampin' Up. Okay, and then just a couple pointers too. If you want to spend a giant order, you can get this guy free with a $3.75. It's on top of all your other bonuses. And if you do have that giant wish list, maybe joining my team is an option for you. I have a no pressure team, and you can ask me for details on that, but you can earn this set of stamps and planners absolutely free by signing up in July or August. Okay, so little plug there for you before our video. Mini catalog. This is my favorite catalog, I have to admit. I am partial to it, but I have to refrain from showing you Christmas cards or even fall cards right now, because it is plus 28 out here in Edmonton today. It's beautiful, so we need to focus on something a little more upbeat and fun. So I'm going to go in my catalog to page 64 and 65. And we are going to play with the Splendid Day Suite today. All 3 of our projects are going to come from this suite. So you're going to see me play with the stamps, the dies, and a lot of the paper that comes with this suite. I will also show you this ribbon and the embellishments too. Okay, so if you're interested in purchasing everything you see, there's an all-in-one code. You don't have to enter everything separately, but of course, if you just kind of look over on the next page, there are item codes just for stamps or dies or the bundle. But this paper you need to fall in love with. And I don't have a full package to show you, but look, it's so shiny. One side of every sheet is so shiny and has a fun embossed pattern, and then the other side is a gorgeous matte look. So something to think about because it's a very cheerful package of paper. All right, let's get crafting. So if you'd like to craft along with me, I have posted all of the measurements in the description on the video. If you're wanting to do this later or you're watching the replay, you can prep those. But if you're going to craft along with me, let's get going. Our first card is actually one that I did not design. This one is from Stampinup. I attended one of their online retreats, and I'm going to show you later how I changed it a little bit. But I want to show you the basis of what they demonstrated, because the technique of this card is kind of the heart of the project that I want to explore for project number 1. So if you'd like to join me, you're going to need a card base of soft seafoam. I have cut this at 5.5 by 8.5, and we're putting a score mark at 4 1/4. And that score mark simply, you can use your scoring tool, or of course you could simply take your piece of paper and fold it in half, and it will automatically line up with 4 1/4. Okay? Oh, I did remember a bone folder this time. I'm so bad at forgetting them on the other side of my table, and then I don't want to get up. Okay, there's our card base. Let's do some cutting for our other pieces just so that we have them. You have a piece of designer series paper, and of course you could flip it over and use this side, or you can use the shiny side, whatever you want. This piece is going to be 3 1/4 by 4 3/4. Now, if you are like me, sometimes I cry a little because look on here, we're not using the middle part of that DSP at all, and it's going to waste. So often I will take things like my stitched shapes and I will cut the middle out of my designer paper and use this for something else. Just an idea, because then you don't have to waste that middle piece. But I'm not going to do that to you today. Okay, so there's your one piece of designer paper. Now we need a few pieces of white. So I always like to have something on the inside of my card to write on. So this is a standard 4 by 5 1/4 piece of basic white. That's going to go on the inside of the card like so. Of course, you will attach it, and then you have something to write on. The two other main pieces that you're going to need are this white piece here for us to color on, and something for your tag. Okay, so the piece that we're going to color on, this is a piece of white, and it is 3 by 4 1/2. And then the little tag, of course, go ahead if you have dies on hand, like some of these little stitched banners, for instance, from the Stylish Shapes. You could just as easily use that instead of having to just cut a piece of paper and make your own banner. Okay, so keep that in mind. I'm just showing you, pardon me, if you don't have those dies. So this one is 1 inch by 3 inches. If you're thinking you want a longer sentiment than what I'm putting on, maybe cut a little longer, because we are going to trim this down. Okay, so we've got all our pieces ready. And then later on, you can go ahead and cut out embellishments to add to your projects. For mine, for this one, for instance, they only called for 2 little leaves from the set, and then some ribbon as well, okay? But I'm going to show you some alternatives using a few other embellishments in just a few minutes. But let's get going on the basic part of this card. So we're going to take out this 3 1/4 by 4 3/4. Nope, 3 by 4 1/2 piece of white. Okay, take that out and grab yourself a scrap piece of paper, because we're doing some scribbling and I don't want it to get on your table because you will be sad. Okay, so what you need for this project is some blends. You need a light and a dark of 2 different colors. So for me, I'm following Stampinup's directions and I'm going with colors that are found in this suite. I have Fresh Freesia and Pool Party. Of course, you can use anything else that appeals to you, and if you're playing with a different suite, use something different, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm starting with my light Pool Party for this technique. And you can probably see on my sample, my light looks really shoddy because my marker was dying. So I have a brand new Pool Party marker and it's already proving its worth, and it's going to be a lot easier to work with. So I have colored down the full half of my page. You do not need to measure what halfway is, just estimate. It's approximately halfway with the light Pool Party. Then I'm going to come in with my light Fresh Freesia, and I'm going to do the rest of the paper here. Not going to the edges of the page, just kind of scribbling down towards the bottom. As those colors set and dry, they're going to look more like the colors on my left. Right now they look a little bit more pink. Okay? I should just look, make sure I grab the right ones. Yeah, I did. So it'll set. Now I'm going to grab my dark Pool Party, and about half of this space I'm going to color over top of with my dark Pool Party. So starting about halfway down, scribbling back and forth, I have added my dark Pool Party. Then I'm going to take my dark Fresh Freesia, and I'm starting from the bottom, or from the top on this section. And always use your thick side for this technique. And we're going to scribble over halfway. Okay, those colors will bleed together a little nicer as they set, and that is perfect. So now the other fun thing that I thought Stampin' Up did was they stamped directly on this little background with coordinating colors of ink. So they took the Fresh Freesia ink and the little bumblebee that is from, here I'll show you, the Splendid Thoughts stamp, this little guy here. And you probably want to have a stamp cleaner handy because you'll notice we're stamping our bee in 2 different colors. You can stamp it off, but it kind of scares me a little bit when we're going from like a purple to a blue or even vice versa. So just grab your chamois, have it on hand, and life will be better that way. Okay, so we've got a bumblebee. I'm going to start with my Fresh Freesia ink, and my ink is so juicy, so I'm just tapping it. I'm going to do my bees just near the bottom of the page, because if you'll notice, the sentiment kind of takes over the middle of it. So 1 bee in full strength, and then without even inking again, I'm going to add the second one, kind of so it looks like it's just like a shadow of this one. I think this one I did accidentally do full, but you can see these 2 I stamped off, and it just looks very subtle. So I'm going to wash that, and then I'm going to switch colors and go with my Pool Party and do the same thing. Okay, so stamp, stamp, stamp. Got a little space, so bee and shadow. Okay, so that is the main part of this project that I had to show you guys because it was just truly a technique that I hadn't ever played with before, and I thought it was so subtle and fun to do. So you can see we could start building our card. This is Stampin' Up's card. Now I decided I wanted to play a little bit more, and so I took my background piece here and I've decided to do some stamping on it. So now I've gone and I've taken my card kind of from a plain background that the center is the focus to just adding a little subtle detail in the background. So you're welcome to do that along with me, or you can just pause for a second, maybe catch up on your what you were doing. But if you want to do the background, you're just going to grab the same color ink as your card base. So in this situation, that's going to be soft seafoam. If you don't have soft seafoam, You could also use Versamark because that will give you the same technique. We're just stamping around the edge of our project using a large leaf set. So this is one of the leaves from my Splendid Thoughts. The other option, of course, is that large, like leafy frond. And either way, doesn't matter what you choose. Okay? These are just going around the outside of the project because we're going to cover the center with our other pieces. So don't worry about that. Just worry about this part. You can now go away with your scrap for a minute, but keep it handy because you'll need it on another one of our projects. Okay, so here's kind of card 2.0, where we're just stepping it up a little bit by adding some of that background to it. Okay, so let's come back to our pieces here. So we've got that white piece that we stamped on, and now you're going to bring in your designer piece. Instead of framing, like your measurements kind of lean you towards, we're actually going to offset our pieces so they have a little bit of an angle to them. You can offset to the left, you can offset to the right. It's totally up to you. It does not matter, and it will not affect the card. Okay, so to attach this, all I'm going to say is turn this over and put a little bit of adhesive in the center of your white piece. You don't want anything on the edges because those are going to be hanging off in some places, and we really just don't want to have to worry about that. Okay, so just a little tiny piece of tape or seal in the center here. And then when you're kind of happy that you've given yourself a little bit of designer paper peeking through on all four sides, go ahead and squeeze that together. Okay, this one now we're going to turn over and put dimensionals on the back. And put quite a few because this is kind of our base now. We're going to build everything else on top of it. So I like to do my whole perimeter, and that's why I do the mini ones, because it's easier to kind of add a bit more stability all over the place instead of just my 4 around the edge. There we go. Now, once again, this is not going on to my card straight. I'm going to kind of tilt it one way or the other. It's totally up to you. And now that's resting on my card base. Okay, so we're going to pause a minute and do our sentiment. So whatever you'd like to use is completely up to you. I thought I'd use the Let's Celebrate from the Splendid Thoughts stamp because I could use it for all sorts of occasions, and it's always nice to have those kind of cards on hand for me especially. So I've got my fresh Freesia ink, tap, 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 and I'm stamping right in the center of my white space, okay? And of course, if you had one of those banners handy, this would be what you're stamping on instead, okay? So that's totally up to you. But let's pretend you don't have banner dies and you need to make this a banner. You're just going to do a tiny little snip right up the middle of that, and then triangle makes one side of the banner and triangle makes the other. There is one side. So it's really cute if you want to just do one side. If you want to do the other one, same idea. Just a little snip right up the center. Triangle on that one. And triangle on that one. Oh, I missed a little section. Oops. There we go. Okay, here is my little banner. Give me a second. Very hot. Oh, okay. I guess the only thing about the heat is I'm actually getting in my water intakes, which is good. So before I add this to my card, I've decided I want to add a little embellishment, and use some of the new soft seafoam ribbon that's part of this suite. So this guy here, it's a beautiful organdy ribbon. Instead of giving you a measurement to cut, because some of our banners will be different, I'm just going to suggest that you take your piece and kind of rest it behind your little banner. Give yourself the tiniest of little loops on the edge here, and just kind of bring it back over here to figure out how long you need your ribbon to be. So if you're comfortable cutting it now, go ahead. You could also just pinch it in place and hold it, okay? So here we go. We've got this ready to go. I've got kind of a little circle on one side and my two ends on the other. And I am going to actually cut these in opposite directions, I think. Hold on here. Those are the same. I want one going this way. Sorry, getting fussy. I like my ends to go in opposite directions. They're cuter that way. Okay, so in the back of this, I'm just going to put a little piece of tape. You can use Scotch tape, you can use double-sided tape, but this is going to attach it to that banner for you. Okay, so a little larger than the width of your two ribbons. And it's super easy to move. If you decide once it's on that you're like, hey, I don't love it, you can move that location, okay? But I'm pretty happy with that. I've got a tiny bit of ribbon sticking out the front and the back. So I'm going to turn this over and add some dimensionals so that this sticks up. And try to get your dimensionals touching at least part of the paper. They can be on a ribbon, but touch some of the white too. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to put this about in the middle of my project. Can go up or down, however you like, and probably depending on where those bees ended up. But there's my Let's Celebrate. Now, Stampinup had the great idea of just cutting out two of the simple dies that come with the die set. So I used soft seafoam for my color. I'm going to attach them just by using my mini glue dots. So pulling one of these off the roll. And I don't know if you guys follow me on Instagram, but if you do, it's @LaurenScrapLot. Yesterday, one of my little guys just kind of wanted to come and craft with me and do some stuff. He ended up punching out a bunch of shapes and wanting to put them on strips of paper to give to all his aunts and uncles. And I didn't want to give him white glue or watch him, so I gave him glue dots, and he used at least half of a roll on all his projects, but he did a great job. He put all his little shapes on them, pulled them off one by one, and put them on his project. So you can watch Darius's reel and his little highlighting crafting session on my Instagram if you'd like. Darius is my 4-year-old, and he loves helping me. He really loves my cut and emboss machine, but I'm often using it, so I feel like he just needs to get his own maybe for a birthday soon, because he really wants to emboss all the time. Okay, so here we go. I have now done basically everything Stampinup has done on their project, but I added that little background. And then if you want to step it up a little bit more, you can bring in, sorry, the background on this is the other paper. You can bring in the open leaf trinkets, and simply by adding a glue dot to the end of this one and tucking it in, you can dress that card up just a tiny little bit. So I think I'm going to do that because it's cute. And there we go. And then if you want to dress it up even a little bit more, oops, sorry, ha ha ha, I went the wrong way. There we go. That's adding the little embellishment. Then you saw my fourth one because I didn't hide it well enough. You can add a bee. So just cut yourself out a little bee with stamped in fresh Freesia and cut out there. And he's really cute and adorable. And then you have a great selection of options for your cards. So 4 different cards, simply adding one element on each one. So I'm gonna try and figure out how to put this in the frame for you. That's kind of good. So yes, you're welcome to start. And then as you get a little more adventuresome, just do some stamping, add a little embellishment, cut yourself out a little bee, and you've got a whole series of cards now. There we go. Okay, so I know this is a lot. You're welcome to kind of watch me later, or pause if you're watching the replay, but I'm going to move on to project number 2 for you. Okay, and I will post pictures of these so you have them to look at, or you can also just come back and look at the video again after I've finished the live one. Okay, don't need that. Let's go to card number 2. So card number 2 is also using this Splendid Thoughts Suite, but I've kind of changed it up a little bit, and I have a couple techniques to show you with this one. Okay, so let's get our card pieces, and I will walk you through what you might like to have prepared. Okay, so for this card, I am going to be using a card base of Smoky Slate, and I'm cutting it a little differently. So this one is 4 1/4 by 11, and I'm scoring at 5 1/2 to give me a nice card like this. For the front of my card, I'm using a piece of fresh Freesia, and this measures 4 inches by 5 1/4. The inside, so we have something to write on, is also 4 inches by 5 1/4. And then you're going to do some shape cutting. So here are some stitched, scalloped shapes. And this one, let me find out which size you need. So these are from the stitched rectangles, just so you know. These guys kind of hiding here. Oh no, they're not. They look like they could be. You could use the 3rd one from that set. There's no specific one that you have to use. And then this one, I can't find it. It will be in the description, or I would have posted it there. I just don't remember where I got it from. Sorry. Okay, I'll make sure it's in there. Oh, it's color and contour dies. Okay, so I think it's the 3rd one. Once again, just something that kind of fits in this middle space. You can use bigger, smaller, doesn't matter. And then the 2nd largest of these stitch circles from Stylish Shapes. And if you're wanting to do a bunch of die cutting in advance, you can do some pieces here. Okay, so let me show you. With the die set, I have used this one here for Petal Pink, Calypso Coral for this large guy. Oh, doesn't want to come apart. Calypso Coral. This little one is Soft Seafoam. And then I've also done white from this kind of semicircle. And I've cut myself, I stamped and then cut 2 bumblebees from this one. I think just so I had an extra in case I lost one. Or maybe it's from the other project. You just need one. Okay, there we go. So let's get working. We're going to start with our kind of most time-consuming piece of the project, which is going to be this background. You can see here. So I'm going to start by grabbing myself that scrap paper again, because it's nice to stamp on. And we have our messy background with this leaf. So I have to clean it because I did use that in Soft Seafoam. on a previous project. And I'm gonna start stamping those in fresh Freesia. Okay, so that's just messy stamping, but I am doing all over. I want it all over the card so that I make sure I'm not missing anything in my project here. Okay, so move those around. They can come from all different angles. Kind of the fun part. Make sure you get that center because it's hard to get into it later. Oh, I touched, so we're committed. There we go. One and two. Okay, so this background is really fun. It would look great, but I want to step it up for you guys a little bit. So we're going to clean this off and we're going to trade it out for these little circles, which are kind of they're supposed to be the shadow effect for this stamp. They don't fit perfectly in there, and that is intentional, but they're really fun to make a little accent look like this. But before we can do that, because I'm embossing this part, I first need to make sure that my ink is dry. So I don't know if you guys saw this, but I'm super excited. We have a new embellishment kit that comes with a tray, some tweezers, a cleaning brush, and an embossing buddy. So embossing buddies are going to be your best friend because they kind of are a little pouch, and keep this bag, don't throw it out. Always store your embossing buddy in it. They will pick up the excess ink on this project. Okay, so you're just gonna rub it over top. It's kind of like a little thing filled with powder. And it's gonna pick up any wet ink still on here. It might turn colors over time from wet ink, and that's okay, don't stress about it. Now, we can come in with our Versamark and stamp very haphazardly. You do not need to be perfect, but you do need to be quick because Versamark is one of our quick drying inks, and we're gonna do some embossing with it. So just kind of sort of get these roughly on a plant, okay? Doesn't have to be perfect. They can be hanging off, hanging out. There we go. But you want them sort of on a plant. You cannot see that at all. Now I'm gonna take this and throw it in my tray, and I'm using clear embossing powder over top of this right now. Okay, so I like to just kind of dump it across the top of a project. And if you lift it up, tilt down, gravity does its own thing. And you've got a little bit of white on there, okay? Still not good enough because we need to now heat this and it will come alive for you. So the nice thing about this new kit is this set of tweezers means I don't have to burn my little fingies. I just hold it with the tweezers and I'm gonna start heating, and you will see this clear embossing powder darken, and it's going to turn nice and purple for us. As it darkens, you can move on to the next spot. There we go. Okay, whew. There's a reason that I mostly emboss in the winter. I'm hot. Okay, here's our background. Now we're ready to decorate a bit, okay? So let this guy sit and kind of just cool off for a second. This gives you a chance to just bring your card over, and let's put that white piece on the inside of the card. I like to just use double-sided tape, but of course everyone has their favorites. Some people are glue fanatics, some people love a good old seal, but whatever you like, throw it on there. And this goes on the inside of the card. This is also a really good time because you have that that fresh Freesia ink on hand and you've got your stamps. You could maybe add one of these little guys to the inside like that. It would look cute, but you don't have to. All right, now let's get our background piece on the front of the card. You'll notice because we've heated it, it's a little, like, it's not flat, so we're gonna use a generous amount of dimensionals on this project, and that will help it out. Okay, so make sure you go all around the whole perimeter. I use about 9 mini dimensionals to cover my whole perimeter and the center for this card now. All right, and this goes on the front of your card. If you have a favorite, top or bottom, make sure it's facing the right way. But of course, when you messy stamp, often it's very forgiving which direction you put your paper down. Okay, so I can actually move this out of my way for a moment. I won't probably need it again later, but let me grab that color and contour die. Okay, that's a nice stitched shape. You can use either side. We're going to pop this one up on dimensionals and put that kind of on the left-hand side of our project. There we go. So I'm just putting it kind of in the middle, but to the left of my project here. Okay, now I shouldn't have gotten rid of my scrap because I told you I'd need it. I wanted a little bit of detail on that circle, so of course it would look great just like it is, but I thought, hey, let's do some stamping. We're going to grab this large leaf and stamp in fresh Freesia. So I tried to keep the color scheme very similar, so you just had to have, you know, those ones out on your table, but you can see all the ways that you can actually use a stamp and an ink right now. So that's just getting stamped. Oops, sorry, you missed it. There you go. I just stamped it on my circle in the background. It was not exciting, so don't feel bad. Okay, this guy we're going to pop up on our card, but do you see the fact that half of the circle rests on our rectangle and half of it is on the edge here? So I don't want dimensionals on both sides. I actually only want them on the side that's going to be on top of the rectangle because I want room to be able to stick this little embellishment under. Okay, so one trick that I often do is instead of putting dimensionals on my shape, I'll just put them directly on my little rectangle here because then I know nothing is falling off the side. I know they're in the right spot. I know I'm happy. Okay, so this guy's getting put on just right in the middle section there. And then from here, it's totally up to you what you do next. Personally, I'm gonna just start decorating with some of my paper pieces. So I'm gonna set them into place and just imagine where I want things to be before actually adding them, okay? This gives me a chance to just make sure I've spaced everything properly. I know I haven't stamped this guy yet, but just make sure you're happy kind of approximately with where it would be. The nice thing is these 3 stems are actually going to be hidden behind this little half circle. So I'm gonna just cheat and grab a piece of tape and run it right across the bottom of those. And nobody's gonna know because they will be covered up, and now I don't have to attach them with anything else. Okay, I think I missed part of my green, so I'm gonna do that. So before I attach this guy, I of course will want to do a little bit of stamping. So I chose the Sending Hugs because he's nice and tiny. And I'm gonna stamp with one of my coordinating colors that I've used on the card. So I think here I used Calypso Coral. I actually think I would like to see what Petal Pink looks like. So I'm just gonna grab that. It will be a little bit more subtle. Well, actually, I'm gonna go Blushing Bride. It's a little darker of pink. Just because I'm thinking I know who I want to give this one to. And they are more a pink person. So I'm going to do this. So there's that Blushing Bride. A little different here, but still just as beautiful. And you will want to pop that up on dimensionals just because you want a little bit of space between that circle and the tape. 2 is just fine. And that one goes kind of just off center here. So you might see one of your stems hanging through, and you can either trim it if you don't like that, or I just left it because I thought it looked just fine. Now I'm going to take my little trinket and add that with the blue dot. Just right on the item, pull up, and that can just get tucked right under there. And then for my little bumblebee, I have already cut him. He is stamped in fresh Freesia and cut out on white. But I want to show you, if you take your Wink of Stella, he looks really cute. So hopefully I can find it. There we go. Let's buzz up this bee a little bit. Okay, just take your Wink of Stella on the inside here. Oh, that's why I had 2. I wanted you to see the difference. There we go. And you can hopefully see this guy is a little shinier than this one. See one? There we go. So the one on the bottom has the little Wink of Stella. Do you see how shiny her wings are? And the one on the top is just beautiful, but it looks a little, you know, more like paper. So there's your Wink of Stella. And I popped my little bumblebee up with the dimensional. The mini dimensionals fit perfectly in the back. And the bee can go right here. So there you go. There is card number 2. Really, really cute, and a great way for you to use even more of your dyes and bring in a bit more of that color in there. There we go. Okay, so once again, I will make sure to post pictures of this, and you can always catch it a little later. But let's move on to the last project for you. Sorry, that one was crooked. I had to fix it. There, much better. Okay, card number 3. This one, you will recognize the background. I'm giving you just another way for you to design the card, but I'm going to show you a couple ways that you can also enhance this background too. Okay, so let's grab out all our pieces to start. And we'll get all of our stuff cut and ready to go, I think, for you. Okay, so there we go. I'm missing the plant. Where are you? I'm missing my plants. Well, that's fine. I can still show you the technique. Okay, so for your card base this time, we're going with fresh Freesia. We're going to do fresh Freesia on fresh Freesia. So this card base measures 4 1/4 by 11, and you're putting that score mark in the middle at 5 1/2. So that will give you this nice card that just opens from the top. We're gonna put a piece of white on the inside that's 4 by 5 1/4 so that you have something to write on, okay? Now on the front, that would have been this piece. On the front, we are doing the exact same technique that we did previously. So I've already done that, and then I want to show you how to decorate this a little bit more. So this piece was 4 by 5 1/4. I have stamped it, then I have heat embossed with clear. And now I'm going to bring back my fresh Freesia and a blending brush and do a little bit of darkening along the edges to kind of pull that color together for myself. So you're needing your scrap paper quite a bit today, and sorry on that regard, but that's okay. So here we go. We've got our nice piece that you've embossed and done. We're going to take our ink and our blending brush and just kind of roll in a circle just so that you pick up some ink on the edge. So you notice this brush looks kind of blue. It's not, well, it's not bleeding blue color. I used it with blue and I washed it out and it's fine. Okay, so I've got purple on it now. I like to start off my page just in case there's like a chunk or a huge buildup of ink. It goes on the scrap. But then you're gonna just go across in a circular motion all the way. Just do your whole stripe. You can always come back and build color later, but if you kind of stop and start, you end up with weird circle splotches, and that's not the greatest. So just turn your card around, do the same thing, and I'm going back and forth if you want to, but you're just going kind of down about an inch, and then we're going to move around. So that middle part actually will never get done on this technique. We're just darkening the edges. Okay, keep going. And you can come off and on the scrap as much as you want. That's why I suggest you have a scrap. Okay. So there you go. Do you see the difference between that middle that I just didn't reach and the outside that's got kind of a nice dark Freesia color to it? You can add more color with your blending brush if you'd like, as much as you want, but just start softly and subtly and then build your color as you want. And then to add even more detail to our back, remember that blend from project number 1? We're going to grab our dark one and we're almost going to kind of color on the lip of our lid. So if I just kind of aim this down towards my paper, I'm trying to do this, there we go. Aim this down towards my paper and just flick. Do you see I've gotten a few splatters on the card? So you're just going to continuously just draw a line on your lid as close to your paper as you want or as far away, but make sure you don't splatter too far. It will add little dots to your project to give you kind of a splattering look. So you don't need too much, but just a little bit. You can kind of see them on my project there. And it just gives you a subtle background look that you haven't had to stamp. You've just kind of splattered on there. Okay, so whenever you're happy with how that background piece looks, you're going to, without dimensionals, put this piece on top of the base because we really want those purples to tie into each other, and you have a perfectly plain purple border that makes it look like you timed that perfectly and, you know, measured it, but really you didn't. You're just using paper as an illusion. So tape, seal, glue, whatever you'd like, attach those two pieces together. Go. So there's my center. So to decorate, we're going to do a few fun things. I have cut myself the second or third largest of the circles, whichever one you prefer. I think this one's the third because it fits perfectly with this little basket, but you can use whatever you like. We're going to do a little bit of ribbon technique here, okay? So it's up to you whether you want to do this technique on the card itself or on the back of your decal, but I find the easiest thing to do is on the back of the decal because I can just simply add a couple strips of tape and my ribbon will attach to that as we go. Okay, so I've put my tape on here and this is in no way connected yet, so I can separate that for you. Okay, you're just going to start with one side of your ribbon and just make sure it's stuck down. And then to go backwards, just give yourself, flip it around, make sure there's a little bit of a loop here, and come down at another angle. The nice thing is if you get your ribbon done, let's say you were super fast and you're like, oh, I don't love how it looks, ribbon just rips off like so, and you can start from scratch. Okay, so once again, just start somewhere. Bring a little loop back, and it just kind of sticks to the tape as you go. Give yourself a second little loop, and then trim off. So I don't even want to give you an estimate because I didn't measure this. This was just the end of a roll. I'm probably gonna suggest you just do this while your ribbon is on a roll. I just happen to have the end of one roll that I had to use up because it's far easier. You probably want about 12 inches, I would say, to do this properly. Okay, so it's kind of like a Z. Remember Zorro? Just make a Z on the back of your project. Flip it over, make sure you like how it looks somehow, and if you don't, just pull it back and start again. Putting some dimensionals on the back now of this circle will pop it up enough for that ribbon to have a little space, and then we can start decorating. And this guy I just put right in the center kind of my project so that my plants can go up and my sentiment can come down. And I used one of the second smallest banner from the Stylish Shapes Dies, stamped Let's Celebrate in Pool Party, and I'm going to pop this up now on dimensionals as well. Just right there. And then for my little pieces here, I don't know what I did with my stuff. That's fun. Okay, let's check my drawer. Should have been in my envelope. Well, I have scraps, so I can always go ahead now and just cut myself out these pieces. And that little semicircle, I ended up using the back of one of the patterns of paper. Let me just try and find the one that yeah, there we go. So this silver and white one has a really subtle kind of linen background. So if you use that half circle die, it almost just looks like you've got a basket and all you did was use a piece of paper. So unfortunately, I guess I'm not finishing this one on camera for you. I'm sorry. I thought I had it all prepped and ready to go, but we would just simply put this little basket up on dimensionals and then tuck your pieces in behind. We've got that little embellishment that can once again be tucked. We've got a little bumblebee that you can color with Versamark or Wink of Stella and pop up there. And oh, the fun thing is, I think with these two, I stamped this plant with soft seafoam, and then I did that same technique with the blends marker and kind of put some splatter on it so that it looked a little spotted. And this one right here, I actually just colored the petals with Wink of Stella, if you can see that. So I would have taken my fresh Freesia scrap, stamped on there, and then with the Wink of Stella, just come in and kind of added a bit of detail inside those petals. And it'll just make them nice and shiny, like that. And then when you cut it out and it dries, you can kind of assemble the card as you'd like. Okay, so there's card number 3, card number 2, and card number 1 in today's series for you. So I hope you love the Splendid Thoughts suite as much as I do. If you need any supplies, let me know. I can certainly give you a hand. And then just so you have more ideas, because you can never have too many, this was another idea that Stampinup offered. Just stamping on colored cardstocks with black and then kind of adding some detail that way. And then here is a card that I made for a swap, and it's just kind of very simple, but I just added a few of those iridescent rhinestones to kind of complement this set. And then you'll notice I did mention those circles, they never really line up properly with the stamp. That's on purpose, and it gives you this really gorgeous kind of subtle shadow look. So 2-step stamping a little bit right there. And the large flower has the same technique with this guy right here. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I missed you guys so much, but I hope 3 cards today makes up for it. And if you want to craft with me, I do have kits that you can purchase every month that I can mail to you, unfortunately only in Canada, and I send you an exclusive video tutorial. So my class is tomorrow actually, but I do have a couple extra kits, and you're welcome to purchase them for $15 plus shipping, or you can get them for free when you order from my website with a minimum $35 order. So if you have any questions or you want to craft with me, please reach out. I will see you guys next week for another video with some wonderful projects. I haven't decided which one we're going to do yet, but I have a couple fun things in store. So I'll see you guys then. Bye.